In this lesson, we're going to talk about graphing inequalities. So inequalities are those less than, greater than, or equal to signs. And how we graph them is we graph them on a number line. The easiest way to do that, I guess before we should do that, we should look at what it actually means when we're talking about it. So, for example, A. A says that x is greater than -7, but less than -2. Now this notation here says x is a set of numbers that are integers. X is a set of numbers that are integers. X is a set of numbers that are rational. So back in the rational numbers unit, we talked about what an integer was and what a rational and irrational number was. So now we're coming back to, we'll have to use that knowledge again. So we're going to have to go over rational numbers and integers again. So remember, an integer was any number, for example, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, dot, 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 and it went on forever in both directions, but they were whole numbers. Okay, whereas rational numbers were any fraction where a over b and b can't be 0. So again, it comes back to that. So integers are all your whole numbers. Rational numbers are your whole numbers and decimals and fractions. It does matter how we do that when we're graphing. So, for example, the very first one, it says -7 is less than x, which is less than -2, and it's a set of numbers that are integers. Now, when I read this, I don't like going left to right. I just like starting with x. I say x is greater than -7, but less than -2, and I get a mental picture in my head where it should be. So what I'll do is I'll do a number line, and I'll start with -7, and then we have -6, -5, -3, and -2. Alright, so now it does not say equal to. So we do not fill these in. When it just says greater than or less than, we leave them blank. We just put circles there. If it said equal to, which the B does, we would fill it in then, but we don't do that yet. So our next step is a set of numbers where they're integers. Now integers, it could be -6, so I would fill that in. It could be -5, and it could be -3. So -6, -5, -4, sorry about that one, -3. Those are all the numbers that x could be. X has to be greater than -7, but less than -2. So these are your numbers, and that's how you'd graph it. You don't need the box, but that's how you'd graph it. Keeping in mind, -7 and -2 are not filled in. They are dots because we're looking for whole numbers only. The next one, we'll do C. C is a set of numbers that are less than 2, and they are rational numbers. So we'll show you how that looks after I erase this. Okay, so the next one, C, x is less than 2, and x is a set of numbers that are rational. So these are all our fractions and decimals. Okay, so we'll number line it. X has to be less than 2. I always like saying, well, what's the first number less than 2? Well, 1. So then mentally I can see which direction I'm going. So here's going to be 2. Okay, it doesn't say equal to 2, so I'm going to put a blank circle there. And it's going to be every number that is less than 2. So because it is a rational number, it is every fraction, it is every decimal, and it is every whole number. So I just fill in a, I'm going to use a different color pen, I just fill in a, connecting the dot right from 2, just fill it in, and I make sure I have an arrow. Now the other one didn't have an arrow because it was between two numbers. This one is not between two numbers, so it goes on forever in this direction. And that says x will be any number that is less than 2. But it's not equal to 2. And it's all the numbers in between the whole numbers because that's what rational means. And that's how we graph that. Let's look at F, and then we'll continue. I'll erase this first. F. Okay, so this is a set of numbers. Again, I like reading it from x first. X is greater than or equal to -5, but less than or equal to +5. Now again, we have our equal to this time. So we're going to fill that in. So I'll have a line. I'll have my +5, my 0, my -5. I will start at these two values, and again, you see I'm filling it in because it says equal to. I'll fill in -5 because x is equal to, right? And they're integers. Now again, rational numbers, I would put a solid line there because it's every decimal, every fraction, but these are integers. So I will put in the -4, the -3, the -2, the -1, 0, 1, and are these supposed to be filled in 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's every number between +5 and -5, including the -5 and +5 because we have this equal sign there. And they're integers, so they're all the actual whole numbers, not the decimal places in between them. And that's how you graph these inequalities. So I'm going to continue here. I'll erase all this. And we're going to move it up a bit. And we'll look at just writing it when it looks like words. So we'll write the inequalities. For example, A, all integers, again, integers. So it's going to be a set of integers. Okay? And the number is greater than 8, greater than -8, but less than -6. So x is going to be greater than -8, but less than -6. So again, I would write that a little bit neater. X is greater than -8, but less than -6, and x is a set of integers. They just actually want you to use set notation. You don't actually have to graph that. Let's look at C. Delete all that first. C says all integers, so integers. So x is a set of integers that are greater than 3 and less than 1. So again, x is greater than -3 and less than -1. So we'll do one more here. Try to delete all that. We'll do E. Oops. So again, if it was rational numbers, it would be a set of rational numbers. It's not, so that's the only difference there. We'll do this one because of the equal sign. So it's going to be all integers. X is a set of numbers that are integers, where it is less than or equal to 4. So x is going to be less than or equal to -4. And that's how I write it in set notation. Now looking at these guys, delete some of this. We'll just do C. So again, I see a solid line, which that means all the fractions, all the decimals. So we have x is a set of rational numbers, where x looks like it's greater than -1, but not equal to. I'm sorry, +1. But again, not equal to. So x is greater than -1, and it's a set of all rational numbers. This one here looks like they're all integers because they're the whole numbers. So x is a set of numbers that are integers, and it looks like it starts at 3 and ends at 3. So x is going to be greater than 0 and equal to, but less than 3 and equal to, because all the dots are filled in. And that's how you do this kind of worksheet. I hope that helped.